Felix here, and welcome to this morning's pre-market live stream. I want to talk about Palantir's extraordinary earnings and story. I want to talk about PayPal's, well, the market hates it earnings. Doesn't mean necessarily the full story. Of course, we're going to talk tariffs because that story isn't over yet or anywhere near over. And then we're also getting today, apparently, the biggest crypto announcement in the history of crypto announcements. So lots to look at, lots to talk through. Markets are stabilized somewhat as both Mexico and the snow Mexicans went down on their knees and said, we realize you are 30 times bigger. It's probably a good idea to just cave in, which is a smart thing to do. But China has put tariffs on US goods, not quite as extreme as feared, but again, we need to walk through that. So first of all here, who's happy about Palantir? Who actually, what's the first price you bought Palantir at? For me, $20. Actually, I bought my first Palantir shares at $20, which was pretty horrible for a while. It's one of those breakout classics, and then it absolutely collapsed. Put it in the chat down below and let me know what you know, your entry price to Palantir, or maybe you missed the whole thing. Maybe you missed the whole thing. Got 16, okay. 20, 26, 13, 8. Wow, okay, you were early. 7 or maybe late was also good. 66, okay, you're a late one, but you were happy, aren't you? 49, that's actually a pretty good entry point if I think you entered where I thought you entered. Okay, cool. A lot of you guys holding Palantir here. Okay, I'm going to put out a whole full video on it with like the key clips from what Carp said and everything else. I'm not going to run through the whole thing here because this is more of a general pre-market, what's happening today thing. But just a couple of numbers here. Revenue growth was insane. Guidance is insane. Customer count like doubled. They just absolutely knocked it out of the park. And they're saying that they are constrained by lack of engineers. So they could do more if they had more people. There's just really, really like they're basically saying 2025 is going to be amazing. So Palantir trading right now, where's it trading right now? At $103. And by the way, Trade Vision, you know, we have a thing there. I always talk about breakouts, right? And I always say, hey, go learn breakouts. And I do really mean that. But we kind of codified my rules to kind of identify breakouts. And just look at these. Look at these breakouts there that we spotted here at 35. The last one here at 52. Pretty good calls, right? Now, in itself, no indicator, and you can toggle that on in Trade Vision here. There's a free trial. There's a link down below. Felix Prehn Trade Vision, and we built this, right? So the point of this is actually it's a screener. I don't buy every breakout that's in there because you need to understand a little bit more about it. If you just use the indicator, you won't be confident, and you probably won't act on the good ones, and you probably act on the bad ones. So I still think it's required to learn it at this point, but it definitely saves me a ton of time. It means I literally used to go through about 2,000 stocks a week, and I don't do that anymore. I just look at about 5 a day, which is what Trade Vision spits me out. So get yourself a trial to Trade Vision because it makes some really good calls, but then you still need to have confidence in what you're looking at, and you need to also have really, really good risk management. That's actually where you make your money. So if you want to follow up on that, then go watch the masterclass. That'll actually give you quite a lot of that stuff already. FelixPrehn.com/get free. PayPal may offset Palantir for today. Well, let's talk about that in a second as well. Here we are. Here are the numbers. So they beat on earnings. Can we have a pen? Microsoft, are we allowed? Let me see. So let's get a green pen. They beat on earnings, they beat on revenue, and they authorized 15 billion in buybacks. 15 billion. We come back to that in a second. Now, why are they down? Margins are down a little bit. User counts actually growing. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And I'll show you what the CEO just posted. Alex just posted this. He said, look, we returned to profitable growth. Transaction margin dollars are up. US branded checkout is accelerating. Braintree's actually bringing in money for the first time ever. Venmo's bringing in money, 20% growth there. Inflection point and active accounts, they're actually growing again. Remember, this is a stock that's like down in the dumps, right? The strong momentum we've created sets us up well for 2025, which is about scaling adoption. Excited to share more at the Investor Day later this month. Pretty positive, but still a CEO sort of knee deep in the mud, right? Like he's still shoveling stuff. So what's really exciting is this. Not only do we have the 15 billion stock repurchase program, but we also have 4.86 billion remaining. Now, that's basically, call it 20 billion for easy maths. You know, I can't handle complicated numbers. You know what the market cap is of PayPal? It's about 90 billion. So this is buybacks, and this is market cap. So they're going to buy back, what is that? I can't do numbers. 20 over 90, 22% of the company. 22% of the shares are going to disappear. You think the stock's going to collapse? Right. Just throwing that out there. So I'm enjoying this reaction on PayPal today. I think it's absolutely amazing. It's down 9%. And I'm going to set up a trade on this. There is a classic trade we can do after earnings when a company overreacts on the way down, and a bunch of things you could do. You could set up a bull put. You could just sell puts. There's a bunch of things you could do. Don't do that. That was just an example on something else. So am I excited by this? Am I excited by this? I'm actually really excited by this. It's a lovely opportunity to get some, in my opinion, very, very, very low risk money. But I leave it up to you. Obviously, don't follow what I'm doing just because I'm doing it. Obviously, you just understand that if you're still live when the market's open properly, I might set it up and I'll show you what I'm setting up, but only if you promise me that you won't copy it blindly, because that's fairly moronic. Now, tariffs. The tariff story isn't over. It's going to come back. Trump actually wants to raise money through tariffs. He isn't just going to give in because Trudeau came over with a mug of maple syrup or something, you know. So both Mexico and Canada are sending 10,000 soldiers to the border, which seems weird because the Mexican border is about this long, the Canadian border is about that long. So I think you need a lot more soldiers to manage the Canadian border, but that's a different story. And they're going to sort of crack down on fentanyl, apparently. I still think there will be tariffs because I still think there will be tariffs. I think the US will put tariffs on Mexico, definitely on Mexico. Canada, not quite so important, I would say. Maybe just keep that 10% on the oil stuff. The rest isn't really that relevant. Now, what about China, as Trump says? Well, the US put tariffs on about $525 billion worth of goods, and China came back with retaliation, and they did only $14 billion. And that's restraint. That's maybe reasonable, maybe it's smart, but it's certainly restrained. So the market's quite liking that they're not coming back for sort of tit for tat. And this is pre-market. It's looking okay, right? Looking stable, at least. Stable with the exception, I think, of PayPal. Where is PayPal? Yeah, can we find it? Must be a really, really red box somewhere. I can't find it. So good, yes. Stabilizing, yes. And I think we now also know a lot more about the playbook here, that when there is another dip because of another tariff spat, and there will be, then I'm just going to buy the dip a bit more willingly, because we've seen 3 large countries go pretty gentle on this. So that's kind of what we expect. Palantir now has the market cap of Coke. Okay, I just read Coke and I was like, what? Aruna says we have no problems with our borders. Okay. I take your word for that. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea whatsoever with the Canadian. I'm assuming you're in Canada, Aruna, are you? I'm assuming you're referring to that border, because the US does seem to have some border issues. Now, this is an announcement that I haven't really seen that much in the mainstream media. And it's really, really weird, because it's the biggest thing that's been announced, I'd say, in decades. And what is it? Well, it's a US government investment fund. So it's a sovereign wealth fund. And what's a sovereign wealth fund? I mentioned this today to somebody and I got a blank look and they were like, what? It's basically it's like a portfolio. Like you have a portfolio, right? I have a portfolio, you have a portfolio, and you take money and you put it and you invest it in things. Governments don't do that very much. And it's weird if you think this through. So Singapore does it, the United Arab Emirates does it, Norway famously does it, China does it. You know, there are a lot of examples, and they basically take money from the taxpayers, essentially government money, and then they invest it, and then the money grows. And if you think this through for a second, the government can borrow, because this is really, really important. This is going to have such an impact on the stock market. I really want to explain this. Government can borrow at the moment at about 4%. Right? Now, the stock market last year went up how much? Anyone? Anybody remember how much the stock market went up last week? Last month? Last year? Even? Last year, not last week. Last year? 25%. So if you can borrow at 4% and you could get 25%, that was a good year. On average, it's been 12% the last 10 years. But if you can borrow at 4%, you can get 12%. Well, that would solve your debt problems, wouldn't it? Let me show you the maths. Okay? And this is the fundamentals of investing. So this works, right? So your initial investment is zero, right? You got no money at all in the fund. Let's say you're going to get 12% per year because you're just buying the S&P, and I'm sure they're going to invest in other things as well. And let's say you're going to do it only for 4 years because the Donald only has 4 years. Now, Elon's teenagers in the Treasury are saving about 4 billion a day at the moment. Say you take 1 billion of that a day. So in a week, this is a weekly setup here. In a week, you're investing 7 billion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? How much money do you think that is over 4 years? I'll take some guesses here. How much money do you think that is? How much money is $1 billion a day invested for 4 years at 12%? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Scott says $400. I don't think you meant that, Scott, right? Well, yeah, I mean, if the IRS gets their hands on it, 10.5 billion, a trillion. Okay, let me hit the button. I hit the calculate button. You can see it. 1.8 trillion. So you put in 1.4 trillion and you got 400 trillion for free. Right? That's the market returns. Now, let's say this thing catches on. And let's say this happens for 12 years. Right? Let's say you get another president, just 2 terms, who's also on this playbook. How much money do you think that is? 9 trillion. You only put in 4 trillion, you got 5 trillion for free. Can you see how this actually solves the debt problem? And you know what it also does? Because if we just go back to the, in 1 year, it's 386 billion, right? Now, buybacks, which is the biggest buyer of stocks, buybacks buy about 1.1 trillion this year. So if you add it to the existing 1.1 trillion in buybacks, which is the biggest buyer of stocks out there, if you add, say, call it 400 billion in government money, it could be a lot more, right? You could be a lot more aggressive about this. You could put in double. What do you think that's going to do to stock prices? You've created probably the second biggest buyer of investments in American companies. What are you going to want to hold? American companies or non-American companies? I think this could potentially give us the biggest bull market we've ever seen. I mean, without the tax cuts and without the regulation of and all of that. Just this in itself is insane. Insane. But they have to sell in order to pay off the debt. They don't have to. The balance sheet, they can balance it out, right? They don't have to. They have to sell the debt. If the debt costs you only 4%, actually, why would you sell it? You might actually want to raise some more debt because you can invest it, and your assets just go up. It's like a company, right? They have borrowings and then they have assets, right? And you want to balance that. So you can do this by simply making the assets become more important, more valuable. So I think it's a pretty smart move. I don't understand why I don't. I mean, the problem, of course, with countries running these is that most countries are run by complete inept idiots. And therefore, they're going to do a terrible job at running sovereign wealth funds. So you're going to have to set up some sort of rules there, or actually hire some smart people and make sure there isn't, corruption and kleptocracy and the usual thing that happens here. Felix for president, a good God, no, thank you. Maybe Winston, but I certainly no interest. I used to be very political when I was young. I was a member of a political party and all that sort of thing. But no, thank you. I think politics is a huge waste of time. I think much better to sit at home and chill and relax and watch your money grow, which is what the intention is here. This here is crypto tsar David Sachs, and David is going to speak today at 2:30 p.m. New York time, and he's going to talk about, guess what? Cryptocurrencies. So we're hoping for some sort of bigly announcement which will make Bitcoin go through the roof, because we still have those MSTR leap call options open, and also some Bitcoin options open. Guinea Pig says, but this is driving up prices due to demand, not creating any extra true wealth. Welcome to the stock market, my friend. We don't create value. We don't create products. We don't sell anything. We just invest in things that we think are going to go up. And when they do, we become very, very wealthy. It's very silly, really, but it's a thing that's been around for millennia, really, and it works incredibly well. So I'd recommend you learn it. So watch the masterclass down below. That's really all I'd say to that. We need more Winston. We definitely need more Winston. Actually, I just came home. I went out for dinner and I normally play with him at night. I came home and he just looked at me with this very sad face. And he was like, you went out and you didn't play with me. So I came out quickly and we tennis ball about a bit. Sweden is smart. Yeah. Sweden is quite possibly doing that. Liebrecht, my friend. Hello there too. So good stuff, bad stuff. Well, so what are we going to do with a thing like PayPal, for example? Air Canada ads there, which is kind of ironic. So first of all, to calm your nerves, but kind of like stabilizing here. On something like PayPal, and we have to see obviously what the market does when it opens and the way prices come in. But we could do, or I could do, I'm not saying you, do a bull put, something like this. That would pay us 27%. If we have to go a little bit lower, 18% if we stay above $79. We could also simply sell a put. That's profitable. Not hugely. Maybe the bull put is the smarter strategy here. We'll see. So when the market opens, we'll have a look at this. We'll have a look at what I'm going to do, and I'll share it with you. I don't normally share with you options trades live, because there's always a risk that some numbnut who doesn't know the first thing about options is going to go, and I'm going to copy the trade because Felix always wins. I don't. That's not how this works. We don't win every trade at all. The important thing is that when we lose, we have small losses, and that when we win, we have bigly losses, wins rather. That's really the goal here. So again, we can look at PayPal, look at our breakouts here. Like, we're calling the way up, we're not calling the way down, right? And that's the important thing here with learning breakouts. And that's really, if I was only going to do one thing this year, I'd learn how to spot breakouts if I were you. You can do that for free by watching the masterclass down below. Sovereign wealth fund to buy TikTok. Yeah, that's the Trump rumor. So he might get Oracle and to pump up some of the money, maybe Microsoft, and then the sovereign wealth fund takes 50% or something, and then the smart chaps like the Oracle guys run it, and the US government owns half of it, and it just means it becomes a nice propaganda tool, doesn't it? Which is generally what social media is all about, I think. George, I'm thinking about banning you, my friend. Get money makes no money. That's exactly true. AMD, what do you think will happen after hours? No idea. Absolutely no idea. AMD, I mean, I no matter what happens here today, I don't think this is the defining moment. What's this? Granite, AMD, because you need to go up a lot higher to turn this ship around. It just, 10% up or something today, 20% up today, it still probably won't do it. Well, it's the 150. The 150 average moving average line sits at $143. So if we go up $30, $35, then I'm interested. Anything less than that, I'm really not interested. And the market is saying that is very unlikely. Market expects a move here up to 127. So I think today is fairly irrelevant. Maybe gives us some insight into like future growth and so on, but I doubt the market reaction today will tell us very much. Have you ever held Nike? I have held the trainers. I've traded the stock. I've never owned it properly. If that's what you mean. Pelosi will run the fund. You mean her husband, right? Because they don't talk to each other, remember? That's how this works. Pelosi never talks to her husband about anything. And therefore, he has no idea what's going on in Washington. That's apparently how that works. Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. A lot of AMD holders want to sell above you. Yeah, exactly. There is a lot of overhead resistance here, so it's not a good time to get into this. And I've been saying this for weeks and months. What's the difference between investing in Invesco ETFs and Vanguard ETFs? You buy Invesco ETFs, Invesco makes money. If you buy in Vanguard ETFs, Vanguard makes money. Compare the fees. That's really what it's all about. Thomas, you're in Hong Kong on Sunday. What's your favorite trek in Hong Kong? It depends on how adventurous you are. It depends on how steep you want to go. There are a lot of nice trails, really a lot of nice trails. I mean, you can just go up literally on Hong Kong Island itself. If you want to be a bit more adventurous, go out to Sai Kung. They're probably the nicest hikes out there. But that takes you a little bit of time to get to. Maybe you have to get on a boat, that sort of thing. But there are a lot of lovely mountains out there. There is a great hiking app called All Trails. ALL Trails. It's an app. If you download that, you'll see them all, and they're mostly pretty fantastic. Do tariffs affect a company like Shop? No, they don't have inventory. Tariffs hurt companies like that make cheap garments and sell you cheap garments. That's really who's affected by it. They have low margins and they just sell volume of rubbish. They're the ones you want to buy. Actually, a list of it somewhere early on, but I thought it wasn't that interesting. Of All Trails, yeah, it's a brilliant app, isn't it? I've been hiking around the world with that thing. That's a good, whatever it is, $9 a month spent or something. AP3 there, appreciate you, thank you. XLF still bullish. I'm still bullish on the financial sector, if that's what you mean. Exchange or Temu, again, are platforms though, aren't they? They just make fees out of platforms. So people could just source that stuff elsewhere and still sell. It might be less, it's true, but I'm mostly worried about your kind of like physical stores or real brands that buy their own inventory and then sell it on to unsuspecting US consumers. Thomas, my pleasure. My pleasure. Kamada, it's not doing very much. It's recovering a little bit today. So I think I'm going to give it time. I'm going to let it breathe. Really the goal with that one. Does PayPal hurt SoFi now? See it. Fox, thanks for oversharing. We really didn't need to know that. When tariffs encourage companies to become domestic manufacturers, what about the input materials? Where are they from? Well, yes. I mean, no country is an island. I mean, some countries are, talk to the Brits or the Irish. But you're always going to need to import something. The question is just, are you importing the things that perhaps you should be making at home? And that's I think globalization, everything goes in waves like the market does, right? The market overshoots it like here on AMD and then it overdoes it probably on the way down. And that's kind of the way the world works. And look at Tesla, for example. It's the same with, globalization. We probably overdid it a bit, right? I mean, Europe has very little, a lot of industrial stuff it just can't make. Same with the US. They just haven't got it. A lot of the industrial base disappeared. Talk to the Brits, right? They couldn't make a pencil, right, if they tried. So was that smart? No, probably not. And you saw a similar thing with food, and there's a lot of other industries as well. So I'm pro trade, but I also see the point of tariffs on some things. It's also a pretty cheap way of collecting tax. It's like VAT. Why do governments love VAT? It's the cheapest form of tax collection because you can't really cheat, right? You just have to pay it. Whereas with income tax and profits tax and corporate taxes, you can do fun and games. So you could make an argument: if we don't have to collect taxes, why don't we just collect the simplest taxes and get rid of the complex taxes? And if you make things less complex, people will do more, right? Like so many of you, how many of you Europeans on here, you always come to me and you say, oh, I'd love to trade, but what about the taxes? I'm not going to do it. The Americans say the same thing, which if you think this through is sort of like saying, I could make $100, but because I'm worried I'm going to have to give, say, $30 of that to the government, I'm going to refuse to make the $70 that would be left, right? It creates this weird disincentive, which isn't really rational. So in my mind, the less tariffs, the less taxes we have on people and on companies, the more good stuff happens, because the more we create, the more output we create, the more stuff really happens out there, which is generally a good thing. So it's, we have to tax something, because you've got to pay for infrastructure and roads and airports and police and security and, the basic things at the very least. And therefore you're going to have to collect money from somebody. So collecting them from importers isn't such a bad idea. It's not such a bad idea. I mean, nobody wants to pay it, but someone's got to pay it. You want to look at hymns? Yeah, that's quite a popular one. A lot of people have been pushing that one quite hard. And yeah, it's done pretty nicely, right? Again, look at our breakouts. And you'll also see here, if you watch the masterclass, you'll know what I'm talking about. And link is down below to that. We get a breakout, and you don't understand the theory. You're wondering why this happens, right? Why does it go up and then go down and then continues to go up? Well, that's actually part of the process. But you need to understand that. Otherwise, you exit and you go, this never works. So you need to learn the theory and the rules, not just the indicator. That's what I'd say to you. Alison, is it too late to buy more Palantir? Look, I warned of caution at 60 and 70 and 80, and now we're at 103. So who am I to say that it's too late? But of course, the sweet spot is always, for me, the sweet spot is where? For me, the sweet spot is always our breakout. So I tend to buy stocks on the breakouts. The last one I said $52. Today might well be one, by the way. I'm not saying it isn't, but I haven't seen the data yet. I don't know what the volume is today. And what I then buy every week is like the index. I'm gonna buy some NASDAQ or something today, probably, because I buy something every week. We grow wealthy, we all dream to move to Dubai and pay 0% tax. Yeah, there is, of course, also that. Although if you're American, you have to give up your citizenship at present, although Trump is also thinking about that, apparently. That was one of his things that he said he might get rid of worldwide tax. So if you leave the US, you don't have to pay it, which would be very popular with some of his donors, I would imagine, who's sitting in BVI or something like that. Kev, I understand the UK situation. They want to keep you small. They want to keep you poor. That's why they allow you an ISA of 20K. They say you make 20K, but no more, which is third. And you can't trade options in it because they say we don't trust you. So yes, you have to pay taxes on it or move. It's one of those two, right? That's really it. Is everyone mentioning Palantir because it's up like 20% overnight, 23% actually, which is pretty good. Market opens in 1 minute, by the way. Squat, yeah, nice explanation there. And it is nice. You get other things. I mean, I got knocked out of something yesterday. Was it? Can't remember. But it means, I've got more cash sitting here today. So we're going to find another opportunity and make some more money. Really what it's all about. What about energy stocks? I'm still bullish on energy. I still have something open on energy, which is a little bit bleeding at present. But, I'm told life support is on its way. PayPal is now down 9%, beating on all earnings expectations except for margins, which is sort of saying it's going to take us a little bit longer maybe to turn this around. So we dropped here to that low point there. So my first thought would be, what can we do with this? How can we make money out of this? And I say we, I mean me. Don't try this at home, children. Set up a bull put somewhere down here, and we would make 21%. Not be too bad. We could also alternatively short a put. Try this in the brokerage. So I've got some. So don't try this at home. This is not a trade recommendation in any way, shape, or form. But I've got some. And we're already in PayPal. So there's two things I could do here: buy a bull put, which is usually quite a good thing to do, or so you sell a bull put really, or we could I could sell a put, say 3 of these, which would also have, let me just see how much cash does that tie up. That only has about a 12% return. So a bull put is probably the smarter strategy here. Vertical bull put. And if this is gobbledygook to you, that's also completely okay. Maybe it'll just incentivize you to learn some more. So why am I doing this so frantically? Because volatility is very high when something collapses like this. And that's what I want to take advantage of here today. Exactly that. So I'm going to go a little lower, be a little bit less greedy. 16%. That's a very, very safe play. Well, nothing is super safe. Get some more volume there. Maybe that's the sweet spot. So I am eyeing the 70 put. Please don't do this at home. Do this in a paper trading account. This can lose you money if you don't know how to manage puts and so on. This is a little bit more advanced. And I'm selling an 80 put here. And how many shall we do of these? Okay, that's the wrong expiration. March 21. Okay. So this makes us $2,000 and downside is 7. Yeah, pretty good. So we hit review on that. That's a pretty small trade. So we're going to got a little bit bigger. Little bit bigger. Still something like that. Yeah. So if this works out correctly, we'll probably make about 10K on this particular setup. And again, not a trade recommendation. If you don't understand options, stay the heck away from this sort of stuff. So there we go. Any questions, my friend? %, 5%. Yeah, chance of profit is at 68% on this thing, which I think is pretty decent considering how far we've dropped, and it's actually already climbing up a little bit here, I think. So how does this actually work? I should explain, right? So we're trading here. So we've had this big drop down. I'll get a red pen to make it look more dramatic. We had this big drop down here. Now my position sits here in gray. That's basically my break even. So we could drop again, similar distance, and another 9% or something like that, and we'd still make some money, right? Actually 5.6% further. So basically the stock can go where? The stock can go up, it can go sideways, or it can go down up to that break-even point there, and I'm still making money. That's sort of the idea with it. What are we going to do with all the money that Palantir made us? Yeah, put it in the chat. What are you going to do with all the money? What are you going to do with all the money that you guys made? I love a bit of live action trading. Black Sky Technology, says Nick. We've got some breakout alerts in the chat here. I like that. Black Sky, if I could spell. Black Sky Technology, that one here. Get rid of my little scribbles. 10% up. Yeah, nice little gap up. Question is, Lee, what happens to volume today? I think that's really the question ultimately. 200,000 so far today. So the real breakout to me, and if you watch the masterclass, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You see that here? That's the zone, right? So we always look for this. This is what we look for. And then it bounced off the massive volume. That's a very, very good call of the breakout there. And then what happens is you get a little dip, and then you get a second chance. That's usually what happens. So as you go past that. So this is here. To me, this is the second chance. This is not really the breakout in itself. That doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It's definitely an interesting one to look at. Resistance. Some. Not massive though. It's quite a while ago. So yeah, I think it looks like a decent one there. Palantir, I just looked at my account. It feels good, doesn't it? Palantir is absolutely crushing it. Now, what do we want to happen here today? We want Palantir to stay over $100. I think that's really the new line here. The resistance has moved up to 100. It was 80 2 days ago. Crazy stuff here, that red line there. Now it's at 100. And we've come down to 100 and we bounced back off it again. So important psychologically. It would be very good to stay above 100, but we'll see what happens. What do you mean by you said volume today, Robert? Robert, what's the masterclass, and it'll all become crystal clear, my friend. Felix Prehn, get free. Link is down below. Tesla. Should we have a look at Tesla? I think not a lot going on over there. I mean, there's definitely some trade war risk with Tesla. I think that's something we shouldn't sweep under the rug. They are very China focused. China is a very big part of Tesla. I don't know, 25% or something like that. And China really wants to hurt Tesla, then they could. Will they? I don't know. Apple will be another one, right? That also has very, very large exposure to China. Prox, my friend, thanks very much for putting the link in there. My first proper winner, brilliant, love that. Really focus on risk management. That's really what it's all about. Nike is flying. Okay, interesting. I do quite like trading Nike for some reason. 1.8% up. I mean, you should write my titles, my friend. You say it's flying. It's 1.8% up. It's below the 150-day moving average line. It's still a falling knife. So I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. Scottish guy, you sold your Palantir. Congratulations for realizing a nice big fat profit for yourself. I hope that's what the point is. So don't bag on him. Nike's a Jeremy stock. Yeah, I think I don't know Jeremy personally, but I think somebody should tell him about falling knives. He seems very good at picking those, which just means it'll recover at some point. I think Nike is a great brand, but I wait. Why not invest in something else today and put your money into something that's actually has a chance of going up? Rigetti is flying, is it? Quantum computing is back. Let's have a look at that. Well, again, I mean, flying, yeah, still in that zone there. It's 11% for Rigetti is like it's nothing. It does that every day. So it looks like a lot. So it tops the charts of movement, but it isn't really a lot. So again, watch out for volume here today. Big Bear AI is up. Yeah, the whole AI space will benefit, I think, from Palantir here. To the whole industry gets a bit of a boost there. What's with all this flying stocks? And look at them, and then it's up like 0.8%. How much is Nvidia up by? 1.65%. Again, that's not really flying. Not really flying. It's nice. It's definitely better than a kick in the groin, but again, it's still below the 150. It's still dumping around here. We have no real direction. So it's still in the same rudderless direction that we've been in. JOLTS report at 10 a.m. Yes, that's true. JOLTS at 10 a.m. job openings. I don't think it'll be that crucial. I don't think it's that big a deal right now. I think people are less focused on jobs and Fed because everyone's thinking the Fed's not going to do anything anyway for a couple of months. They're just going to wait and see what happens with trade war stuff. So at the moment, it's earnings and trade war. That's really what drives the market. And I think we've had some very good earnings on Palantir. I think the PayPal earnings were very good. People are just a little bit impatient. So hopefully our little setup is going to make us some money here on PayPal. At the moment it isn't, but that's again completely normal. When was it? It's these two here, right? Is that making any money yet? No, that's normal. On day one, I wouldn't really expect that. But overall we're still we're on the original position. We're sort of not really doing anything at all with it. It's kind of going sideways. So we're up 40%. Now we're at 0. That's okay. That's it. Got a lot to do with the volatility that's kicking in there today. So when that calms down, this will start to look a little bit better again, which is why we set up the other trade. Did you make the purple line as an indicator? I probably made that well, this line there, that's an indicator. You mean this one? Yeah, that's the 150-day moving average line. Just go to Trade Vision, get yourself a trial to it and play around with it. I think probably the coolest thing we've got right now is the breakouts, just like, spotting these moves. I think that's really the best thing since sliced bread that we've produced. Saves me so much freaking time, here and here and going back in time. That's one. And looks small now, but if you zoomed in at the time, that was actually a pretty good call, a very good call too. So that's really very, very helpful. Safe lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. I think just finance, the whole sector needs a bit more patience. I think interest rates will come down eventually. The bank regulations will get a lot more friendly. We just haven't got the details yet. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic on it, but it depends on your portfolio, your time horizon, your risk management, all that kind of good stuff here. So the market looking all right. Tesla's up 1%, Nvidia, Amazon green, Google's green, the rest is sort of flat. Yeah, Palantir is up 24.7%. I think we can live with that, right? Can you live with that? Let me know in the comments. Why not buy Adidas products? Well, they won't be. Do you think they're tariff free? Europe's going to get tariffs. And where do Adidas make all their sneakers? That's with you, but I very much doubt it's in Germany. Guinea Pig says, any dates, timelines for the next Trade Vision? You mean sort of upgrades and updates? There's a lot of stuff we got cooking, like literally a lot of stuff we got cooking. So yeah, we're also thinking about giving you guys more of a vision for what's coming, because we're working on a lot of things. I appreciate that you like it and that you, our intention is also that it's super reasonably priced. That's really the intention, is to give lots of people tremendous data, because that's how we, that's how we roll, really. Some nice big breakouts here yesterday from Monday, which might be worth looking at. Sounds up. Uncle Roman, you made 250% on Palantir. Congratulations, my friend. That's brilliant. When does the breakout indicator come? Says Frosty. It's already there. It's already there. Oh, you mean what time? We run at midday. We run at end of day. It doesn't really make sense to run it live. You kind of want to get a bit of volume in for the day. Philip, thanks very much. Going to retire. What do you mean retire? Nico, you want Trade Vision for mobile? Yeah, I've already got it. But I appreciate most of you don't yet. And that's intentional, because we're still tweaking some final things there. But it's very, very cool. And it works very, very well. And it's going to be tremendously useful. Where is it? It's on this phone. I'll tease you. I'll tease you with it. We're just putting it on kind of, apps are funny, because the screen is obviously very, very much smaller. So we need to kind of put things in slightly different positions and so on to make sure it actually works. But in theory, it's sort of there. This is the previous version. There's actually a more up-to-date version of this already. But yeah, we'll have all the breakouts in there. We'll have the charts, we'll have all the indicators and everything. And eventually we'll also have portfolios and imports and all the good stuff in the same. FOA, is that a falling knife? Is it? Doubt it. Down 2%. Falling a bit, in fairness. Below the 150. Not sure if I got stopped out of it. I need to check. Where did we get in? Here. That was the entry. So it's if I get stopped out here, I'm pretty happy, because I bought this at like $6.50 or something. So I'm very happy. Doesn't really matter if you get stopped out, and that's the way I look at it. It's just like, there is a path, and the path makes us sometimes a bit of money, sometimes a lot of money, sometimes we lose a little bit of money, and that's okay, because these kind of trades where we win a lot pay for a lot of other stuff. You won't find Trade Vision in the App Store yet. We haven't put that out yet, but it's coming. It's coming soonish. Oh, you can't see. Okay, sorry about that. You can't see. You can't see it. Yeah. So here we go. This is a FOA, which is a trade I set up here at 650. It's in my Webull account, so I haven't got that open right now. And I don't know where my stop sits, but it'll be somewhere around there. So maybe we got knocked out of it. But you know, if you move from there to here, from $6.50 to $23, and you're happy, right? Happy, it doesn't really matter. So some people would say, yeah, but why didn't you sell there at the top? Because at that point, you don't know if it's going to go higher, in which case you want to go higher, or if it's going to come down and then you get stopped out. So we never ever say we're going to get in at the lowest point and we're going to sell at the highest point. It doesn't exist. It doesn't work. That's just okay. If you're Nancy, maybe, but you know, insider trading is not something that I get engaged with. What's the website called, Robert? There's a link down below. Felix.com/Trade Vision. It's called Trade Vision, and it's a website that we built. It's an app that we built. So check it out. Seeing this a little bit lately here. Interesting. Yeah, I'll make a note. How long have we been here? 46 minutes. So that the guys see that there is something funky going on there in the in the chart. Why is that doing that? Oh, there it's back. It's just on a certain thing. Okay. Do you use trailing stops? Sometimes on options, not usually on stocks. No, not usually. I use the chart. I use the actual chart. I think that's the smarter way of doing it. Just a bit more scientific. It's a bit less sort of is a random percentage number, because the percentages certainly do vary. So you want to learn some rules? You know what to do. Watch the masterclass at felixfriends.org/get free. And if you're thinking, I'll do it later, you'll probably won't. So either you do it right now or you probably won't ever do it. So go and do that right now. And I'll give you some extra time to do that by ending this live stream right now. Beautiful day for Palantir. It's going to be very, very interesting over the next couple of weeks to see what happens with tariffs and everything else. And it's going to create tremendous opportunities. Lots and lots of money. Sovereign Wealth Fund, I'm insanely excited about. A lot of other things I'm very excited about. Thank you guys for watching and